and welcome to the Kink Perspective. My name's Chris. I'm a psychotherapist and consultant. On today's show, actually, before we get started today, I want to take a moment to thank really all of you who have been following along, especially those of you who are new here. They're coming on board, taking a look, seeing what the show is all about. All of that engagement, your questions, your emails, I really do appreciate it. Now, today, I've got something special lined up. I'm going to be sitting down. Well, I am sitting down, honestly. I'm talking with Jupiter and Cheetah. Well, Cheethame, actually. I put their names in the description. You can find them. And we're just going to stick with Jupiter and Cheetah. Today, we're going to be talking about their 24/7 master-slave dynamic, unless it's sub, but we'll get to that. Some people don't like slave. Today, we're going to look and explore how they live out their roles, manage their lives, balance everything within and outside of their dynamic, because there is more than two people than their dynamic and their roles. This is going to be an opportunity to hear firsthand about the practical side of the lifestyle for those of you who are interested in 24/7 dynamics, for those of you who are contemplating it, the amount of work and effort that goes in. Right? If you leave your dirty dishes on the sink, is that a slave issue, or is that, the person's issue who left it there? We're going to talk about all those fun things today. We're going to talk about some emotional things. We're going to talk about some psychological aspects and how this all comes together. So without further ado, Jupiter, Cheetah, I appreciate you taking time out on your Sunday evening to sit down and talk to me about this fun aspect of you two and your life.
Yay, hi.
Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yay. That was a wonderful introduction.
That's all right.
I actually start by saying she's not actually my slave.
No.
We are in a 24/7. However, we operate more out of the DDLG space than anything, and that is really our home where we do all of our stuff from.
But with that, we do have there is definitely a more than submissive. I struggle with classifying myself into the slave category, and I know that we could dive really deep into the psychological side, but because I don't feel that I am enough of a slave or as intense as some, or the pictures you see. So we do things that some may classify or put into the category of MS, but it wouldn't be our where we spend the most time.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, I mean, dynamics do evolve. We fluctuate and we play with different areas that do suit the lives we lead.
Absolutely.
So how did you two meet? So maybe Jupiter, let's start with you, a little bit of your background, as much as you're comfortable and want to share.
Sure.
If you want to tell people where you're at and, on the planet besides, Earth, community that you belong to, and then how you came across Cheetah.
So I've been in the lifestyle for 10-ish years now. I feel like it's always been there. So on the other spectrum of stuff, I'm a Reiki healer practitioner. I've studied psych for years and years and years. I love to help and heal others, and really finding the opposite end of that extreme in sadism and specifically edge play to find that release for the other side of me, I guess, We live in Minneapolis. Outside of that, I met her through Fetlife. I seen her profile that said, nobody's ever been able to push my pain limits. And then I reached out and saying, I'm sure I could help you with that. And from there, it was pretty much a wrap.
Okay, so, all right, that's going to take me right into Cheetah, because before we get to that statement, let's do a little bit of your background, and then I want to know how you didn't go, oh, great, I just got a fuckboy email. No shade, but, we're going to have to dive right into that one.
Okay. Absolutely. That's really funny, because I'm sitting here and I'm like, and then the rest of the story is this. But so I've been in the lifestyle for just under-ish 2.5 years, and we have been together for just under-ish 2.5 years.
Wow.
I joined the website a month before I met him.
Right.
And I had heard about it. I kind of was in a place in life where I was finally had the opportunity to explore kink as is this something I'm intrigued about and more of a fantasy, or is this something I actually want to participate in? Like, do I actually like it? So I was just now getting into this place where exploring, kind of really looking into things from no real experience outside of just basic minimal, like the things that everybody hears about, your handcuffs or a blindfold or something along those lines. Someone told me about Fet. I got on there and I was like, okay, I'm going to take some pictures. They said, don't use your real name. Don't, like, gave me all the good guidelines. Like, you don't have to show your face. You don't have to say where you live. You don't have to use your real age. Keep yourself safe first. And so then I was just excited, like super nervous. I wasn't going to comment on anything or like anything. I didn't know how to use the website. And he slides into my DMs. And so did some other people. But right. I was like, you actually made a whole sentence with punctuation and a thought, aside from the very generic, this is hot, I want to fuck you, I want to do this, that.
Or gentlemen, take note. Punctuation is key. So
yes, we
if
love
you
it.
Don't understand grammar, go back to school.
Try again.
Just no, go back to school. Scoot trying again because they're gonna go, yo, baby, what's up? I want that ass, and that's pretty much the experience I hear constantly.
It's there.
Yeah.
But I ended up. We talked for a couple weeks and we decided to meet, and it was on like a random Tuesday night, and I had to work the next morning at 7 a.m. I drove to Minneapolis, so at that point it was like an hour and 45 minutes away.
Right.
And we went bowling, and it was genuinely like the rest was history from that point on.
So, gentlemen, take note. That's number 2. Do something that is not BDSM on the first date. Don't try to spank ass. Take them bowling. Go to the batting cages, mini golf. Yes. A date where you're actually getting to know somebody. What a novel concept.
I know, blown. Right?
Mind blown. If people can't hear the sarcasm in my voice.
Exactly. But it was really just it after that. And I remember we sat down and I was like, I've never had anyone match my energy the way that he did. And I'm a pretty eccentric, pretty loud
ADHD.
For a small person, I take up a lot of space.
Yep.
And
like the whole, like, what was that? The little tornado guy. He's in the cartoons. Tasmanian Devil.
Yeah. Tasmanian Devil. Yep.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. That'd be a good description. But
pretty good though.
He matched my energy, and things kind of, the rest is history from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's important, like, because a lot what you're both telling me here is it's showing up. I hate this word a lot, but I mean it gets chucked around, but it's just showing up as being authentic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
100%.
We don't really realize the power of that. And I meet anybody who emails me, I email them back. Anybody who comments, I comment back. But when they ask me those types of questions, I'm like, just be you. I don't know who that is. We'll take that discovery first. Yes. Don't project things you're not. Don't say things you probably wouldn't say to your own mother or your own dad. Just be you, because what you put out is what you're going to get back. That goes, I level the playing field on that. I mean, if your entire profile is your legs spread open and asking which hole we can use, pretty much anticipate the responses you're going to get. Yep. And if you're on the other side, if you're a guy saying you just want to jackhammer everything until oblivion because you think you can, probably not going to get a whole lot of responses. So it's really about, is that the way we treat people in our normal daily lives? And it's not. I go back 26 years and I think about the Dom who trained me, and he said, be respectful. When you meet somebody new, it's greetings. Doesn't matter if they're submissive or dominant. Greetings is a proper way to say hello. I am so-and-so. I saw some of your things and it kind of spoke to me. You know what? It's been a mixed bag, but I mean, hey, I've met somebody who's in my life and I enjoy that just like you two. And that's what I like is you showed up authentically and then you did something that's non-structured in our world to make a really fortified connection to begin.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't know how to operate outside of transparency and vulnerability. And when her and I met, she spoke on my emotional intelligence. And I think that is a really key part of, I mean, interacting with BDSM, or for sure, just like finding the right partners. You have to be yourself and they have to see you for that and accept you for that. And that's where the things like 24/7 stem from.
Yeah.
Those roots.
Well, and that's really interesting with what you're saying there, because you're talking about now you're coming in with this whole, how do you balance this intense structure that you're creating? Where you're building the foundation and you're starting to now venture across, because relationships are 50-50. We both have to meet somewhere in the middle because nobody can complete the whole side of the bridge. Can't be done. And how do you two balance the demands, not only with your dynamic, but outside life, educate, school? By the way, I love the fact you two in school education is awesome. Keep going. We need more smart people in the world because God knows there's too many dumb ones. And oops, did I say that out loud? Yes, I did, because I stand by that statement. I stand by what I said. Keep your pitchforks
down. Learning.
No, never stop learning. In all aspects of life. But what about other aspects? Family, external family, kids, if you guys have them, or fur babies? Fur babies is an interesting thing. Do you all have fur babies?
Yes. One right there. There's one at the door, I'm sure, just hanging out.
We have a dog and a cat, and then a small, medium human.
Yeah, like medium human? Yeah, like a medium human.
Yeah. I usually say like small human, but like when they're as tall as I am, I'm like, you're not small anymore.
But how do you balance it all with explanations to them, and do they know?
With them, no. Well, I think they know, but they don't know. If that makes sense.
They're only 11, so.
Oh, they know. They know stuff's going on. These can't quantify what's going on.
Yes, it's, I think, to the point of where when they are ready to ask and they actually like think that they want to know, I think they will, but I don't think they want any more information than what they've already gathered.
Because then that's our parents doing stuff, and we don't want to think about our parents having weird sex, because that's pretty much where that line goes with all teenagers or preteens even.
Yeah.
Do you do things when the small human is home, or do you restrict that to strictly, hey, we have to have some time, and how does that work?
So if they're sleeping, then we do what we want. We also have...
There's giggling. We're going to get to the giggling in a second.
We have various spaces throughout this apartment complex, though, too, like a sound room. There's storage units. There's...
I don't feel like we should tell people that.
We have to use what we have,
Sure. Oh, no, look. He's talking about he's being creative. That's creative space. If you can put up some cardboard boxes to muffle sound at that point.
I just mean in like the realm of public spaces and things. We are exceptionally careful.
Yes.
Where we do not do things like around when anybody else is going to.
Sure.
Things like that's what I was trying to get at. But we live in an apartment complex. We have to be creative and we have to do things, but we've also talked about like the giggling. Yes, we've been caught and we've had the knock on the door, but it's also not us doing some crazy thing. It's while we're having sex or something like that.
Sure.
And the knock on the door of, you guys are like, you woke me up. I'm awake at night and it's, I know what's going on, or whatever that sounds like. But I also don't think, I go, what's the difference between anybody that's vanilla and their kids catching them having sex?
Sure.
And if anything, it says we love each other and.
Oh, absolutely. You know what? Or it actually says that they're probably jealous because they're not getting any. I remember that. Like, I don't know. It was like 8 years ago, and I remember sharing private time with somebody, And then the knock on the wall, and I'm like, really? No, because if you're not, go get some if you need to, but don't take my fun away. Not going to happen. Matter of fact, it went louder and longer and more vocal just to make them feel uncomfortable with various moments of "Stop choking me, sir." Right, just thrown in for fun because I wanted to make them uncomfortable. But because sometimes we do operate in those confines of smaller spaces, we do have to be creative. Masks are great for that. Gags, socks are very good. Sadists, right?
Underwear in the mouth.
We don't have to wear them. We don't have to wear them. So.
Yeah, but no, and obviously we try to capitalize on our time when they're gone, or if we don't happen to not be working and they're at school or whatever it is, and it's made us utilize our time better.
Yes.
Where it's not just nighttime activities.
Sure.
It's any time of the day.
It's interesting. It's interesting you guys said about fur babies, and I've never really discussed this before, and I never kind of thought about this angle, but animals are highly empathetic. So if we're crying or we're sad or we're angry, they're responsive. Have your animals?
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
You kind of know where I'm about to go with this. I'm not, first off, for all you weird people out there, I'm not talking about beasts. Don't get into that. I'm just asking, if they heard the commotion, the animals start barking because they're worried mom or dad's in trouble because they don't know any better. Has that ever? Yeah.
So I have my dog from before we were together. So he's, essentially, I'm mom. And he, despises anytime we do anything impact specifically because he can hear it.
Sure.
And we always separate in whatever room we're in. We'll put him away, close the door for him to be in another room, but he can hear it. And there's times where I'm he will be mean mugging him and kind of he's going to get defensive because he knows something is going on and you are hurting my mom.
Yep.
And they can smell the chemical changes or something along those lines.
Sure. Absolutely.
And he immediately at my side snuggling. He's in my business, like when I'm sad and crying from normal life things. When he has to be my emotional support animal, he will be my aftercare support animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, it is actually an interesting aspect because I want to believe that the majority of us on this planet love animals. Now, I don't know the exact numbers, but I'm going to believe that probably at least 50 to 75% of people in the lifestyle have a pet.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of an interesting question, that animal who's been a part of our lives and is in tune with us as much as we are with them. What do they think when we're doing this stuff? And the effects on them. Obviously, we can never ask them, but it is an interesting kind of observation. That's why I kind of asked you what you do with your dog, just because.
I wonder if we're causing him trauma.
Well, I do know that after we see him, him and I have to have almost a snuggle session on our own, so I can reassure him that everything is fine too.
Yeah.
It's real.
Absolutely. It's calming them down. It's not unlike anything, loud, like fireworks going off and startling them. But it's interesting though. I've never really asked until you two mentioned that or when I asked you, but it brings in another level of when you're doing stuff and the little human isn't home, they're off at school and you've got 20 minutes to play, the impact on our pets. Giving me something to think about. I'm going to have to go and talk to some animal bio. They're going to get some strange questions in the next few weeks. So thank you for that. I'm going to make some people feel really awkward.
I hope that I would love to follow up with that. I want to know now.
I'm curious. It's going to be I'll have to try to reach out to some animal behavioralists and ask them about that type of stuff because it's not going to be so much about the sex angle, but it is going to be about impacts and loud noises and the connection through empathy. But wow, this conversation we strayed a whole different direction than I intended. But that's a sidebar. That's part of it. When you two first came together, did you do the typical, we're going to talk for a while, work out our boundaries, negotiate, talk about our negotiables and non-negotiables?
Oh, heavily.
The reason why I'm asking you this, because I'd love for you two to give people an idea. I think I often see and I observe, especially in a place like Fetlife or fetish.com, or sometimes on Instagram, people believe that this is it's instant. I'm looking for my daddy. He's going to find me. I'm looking for I'm looking for my slave. There's no work involved. There's no discussions.
Oh, bummer, because there's a lot.
No,
yeah,
effort.
But it's
Tons
like
of effort
for those people. You're like, just to let you know, it's the exact opposite of that.
Sure. Yeah, no. So I kind of like to hear a little bit, like, how you two got into the whole communication and how long it took, and how did you bring up, like, I know it's weird to talk about consent, but I mean, it's everything. It's a lot of what we do. It's not everything of what we do, but it's a lot of what we do. Mm-hmm. How long did that process take for you two?
So she actually sent me a sheet that had about 50 or 60 things on it.
It was more than that.
Yeah.
But it was it was a checklist of sorts.
Like choking impact, spitting, all of this stuff, writing it from a scale, how she liked it and all that. And then specifically with impact, like, I'm a heavy sadist. And so when her and I started
speak my language.
It's like, I went through every implement with her and I was like, okay, like 1 through 10, I want to find your 7s with all of these first, and then, like,
sure,
the first 2 or 3 sessions we had, we're really finding her edges. And then after that, I was like, okay, I now have free reign in these spaces because I went through all of this with you,
Right.
And like, if I don't hear red, then I'm free to play how I want to play now. But it took weeks of talking, if not more, like
way more, because one thing is, when we first got together, we were long distance.
Yes.
So we only saw each other on the weekends, and it wasn't every weekend. And so when we, like a lot of relationships at the beginning, we had pretty close to, like, constant communication throughout the day. And then on the evenings, we talked on the phone. So it may have only taken a couple. We'll finish this part. I was going to go too far, but we were spending. One of the other things I'm going to just add is, like you said, his emotional intelligence was one of the biggest things that attracted me to him. After
sure.
we still, like, kind of were communicating. And he is someone that will ask the questions, the hard questions. He wants to talk about the hard, emotional, vulnerable.
Give me an example.
Like when we were talking about sex, we're talking about anal. I'm already, like, lowering my voice because it's this.
I got you. Thing. Sure.
And he wants to know.
Taboo, like, for who? For me or the little one?
Just the world.
No, what? No.
It's just
no.
Yes.
If you don't know that, I've already talked about cropophilia, which is scat. Yeah, the world's beyond taboo, right? Listen, there are people who like to want to be in a Pepto-Bismol hot tub cleaning a dominatrix's toenails while taking a milkshake enema, right? So we're well beyond anal being taboo. Yeah, that's specific, and I'm not even going to tell you why I know that, or the forums I read that stuff on. But the reality is, we're with anal. Yeah. Anal's like a Monday, like morning, right? Exactly. That's not even, so no stress there.
It's like things where I'm new in the community. I've not been with somebody that actually wants to talk about sex aside from, do you want to do this? Yes or no?
Sure.
And anal was something that was new to me. That is something that is
huge for me.
A huge thing for him. So I'm sitting here, I'm like, no, haven't done it. He's like, okay, well, now we need to talk about it. It's like, we're making a regimen. You're going to wear a plug for this long. And if it's hurting, you take it out. Like, we're going to not push boundaries, things like this, where I'm like, oh my God, we're talking about my butt. And I was embarrassed. Like, to me, it was like, I'm embarrassed and I'm
right. I'm not giggling at you. I'm thinking about conversations I've had over 2 decades, and it's just comes back. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was things where, like, it forced me to be vulnerable, and it forced me to step outside of my comfort zone. And even, like, I remember our first impact session, all we used was his hand and a belt.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like, it wasn't like we were adding 20 toys at a time. Like, there's the dog.
Fur baby.
But it was small increments. But when I sent him this list, like I had someone send it to me and I'm like, holy moly, I don't know a lot about these. So a lot of it was based on what I think it will be. But I wrote comments for every single thing.
I love that.
And it was like, okay, what are your thoughts on vibrators? Okay, specifically this type of a vibrator. And it's like, have you used it? Have you not? And I'm like, oh, I think it's hot because of this. Or holy shit, that scares me. One of the things was a paper bag or like a burlap bag or a mask or a hood. And I was like, fuck no, absolutely not.
I know.
And now, like, I can't tell you why.
What?
But that was one of my things. But now it was like we had something to go off of.
Sure. You have a starting point.
Things that were not the things we're going to do day one or start with here. It was, we found the things that we both were, these are greens. Mm-hmm. Let's play here where we're comfortable and we know, versus saying, oh, you don't know anything about needles and neither do I. Let me stab you. Like we
how's this feel?
Yeah, he's like, am I doing this right? But we played within like things that
listen, they went to classes before you all break out the pitchforks and go hunting for him. Because yeah, they went and learned, and she works in medical, so don't freak out. Right? It's not. Yeah. There's not an advocation for you all to start picking up a knife and stick yourself in the leg. So you do that, you're on your own, and I'm going to tell you you're stupid, because that's not what she's saying. Just clarifying that to the people who are probably, little children that don't effort, what you're talking about is time and effort.
Yes, and understanding. And it did take time, and it took effort, and it took conversations that I didn't know the answers to, and saying, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And then in turn, we try some things, and I happen to like most things you hit me with. So I was fortunate there. I turn out to be a very tough bottom. Is that what you say?
Fucking
heavy bottom. There we go.
Heavy bottom.
And so it just...
Gotta love a heavy masochist, man. We'll get friggin' tired just beating on you. And then we're like mad that we're tired. And then that's worse, because then we think of more devious things that don't make us tired. Like a helm that's a shock collar that you get filled with water, right? Ooh. Oh, I just had I'll have to send that to you later. That's a whole different discussion. But yeah, I had a friend of mine, he built it because it was a thought I had. I want to shock somebody while they're got water that's just under their nose, but they're encased. It's awesome. And it's insane. And because we think of these devious things, that's part of our life, and we want to keep pushing those boundaries. But I look at the side that you inhabit, and you make him want to be better for the two of you. So you're now feeding off of that energy, which is so positive and strong. Mm-hmm. And he does more devious things, and you're like, yeah, and then do this. And he's like, yes. And I said this the other day, sadists, our world, and I'm starting to smile when I say this, we live to destroy because it's our happy place. Mm. I don't do it out of harm. I do it because I want to hurt, and I like being creative at it.
Yes,
very much so.
Especially the creative aspect of it is so fucking, and just living on the outside of societal norms, for me at least, is like my place.
And then that's the fun part, because then you get to meet with another sadist and you're like, oh, have you done this? And hey, aluminum foil here is really good for this. And you just get all these insanely disgusting ideas, and then all of a sudden we're like, building a toboggan sled of pain in our mind, and Cheetah's on the receiving end, and she's like, oh my God, this is bliss, right? I'm sliding down a thing full of razor blades and needles, and I just can't wait for more. But I mean, again, it's I think what I really like here is what you're saying, though, is there's communication and there's refinement, and then we're like, okay, cool, we've hit this level, let's come back at it again. How often do you do check-ins with each other as far as the dynamic? Do you set it at, like, so for example, I do a check-in about every 4 weeks, every 4 to 6 weeks, Mine's altered a little bit for personal reasons, but about every 4 to 6 weeks we check in after if we've done a scene or something we want to start pushing into. It becomes that free reign time, or do you just talk about those things all the time?
So we have check-ins every Sunday.
Okay.
We talk about everything, our relationship, like my house stuff. But then usually every 6 months, do we go over our contract fairly heavily, and her and I were actually just talking about refining stuff because with all, like I'm back in school, she's going to be starting school soon. We're both super busy and hectic. We need things that we don't have right now. So it is.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. There's a higher for me when I came in, and I'm in the high protocol aspect. There was always a hierarchy. So health, education, job, family, if you have kids, those things supersede the dynamic because they're important. They're going to make the dynamic better.
100%.
So I love that you two are putting education on the forefront. I'm in an aspect where there's a health issue. So not because either one of us wants it, but the dynamic has ceased for now because until somebody's capacity is 100%, there is no play. Right. And I love using all capacity now. So it covers health, physical health, mental health, and emotional health. And if somebody's not there, if you're tired, you don't play. If you're, having a crappy day, we're sad today. It's dad's anniversary of his death, whatever the case may be, we don't play. Or if I'm under the weather, we don't play. It's all of these things that we check in. And I think a lot, again, that's kind of what I like about you two is because you're emphasizing a lot of these points that I try to discuss with people, which I think is so important. So do you still plan to balance, obviously, between work and school, then balance your playtime? Or is that, I'm talking more of your public playtime, because I'm assuming you two are a big part of the Minneapolis scene?
More heavily involved than we have been lately. A space shut down about 4 months ago, and it was our home.
Okay.
And we still play at other places, but we really haven't found that space for us yet. And so a lot of our stuff is at home actually these days,
But it's also, we've kind of looked at things where we thought we would, when I moved up here about a year and a half ago. So for the first year of our relationship, we were long distance. And I think we got out.
When you say long distance, where are we talking?
2 hours. Not long distance, but we don't live in the same.
I was 6,500 miles away from somebody I was involved with to talk about long distance.
Okay, but it is not close.
Sure, no, I understand. You're not playing if you want to spark up that night, you're not playing.
We weren't seeing each other Tuesday and Thursday and Saturdays. It was we only had the weekends.
Sure.
So we were out, I feel like, in the community more then because it was special and we only have this much time. And now that we're together, in the same space 100% of the time, it's we get out, I think, in the community less, but also realistically, we're still exploring our lives as human beings outside of getting to kink events. But
sure,
our dynamic is still
the same as always.
Still very much so there, even when we're out doing other things.
Who moved with who? Did you move in with Jupiter? Or?
We got a new place together.
Okay. Like that? That definitely separates the whole. Yeah. That's good. Okay. And the reason why I'm asking them this question, if you're wondering, is because if you move into somebody else's space, somebody's established there. And all of a sudden that's a disruption to an environment.
We don't
so I like that you two found something new. How long did you start looking right away and you're like, we need to live together? Did we start looking right away together, or did you come move in with him first and then started looking, or how did that transpire?
I was initially going to just move up to Minneapolis and have my own place.
Right.
And we were looking, and it was just affordability wise.
Yep.
It was okay, I can get a 1-bedroom apartment, but I also need, you have specific needs that you have. I'm I have to have somewhere that has is dog friendly or this or that. And
school districts.
But no, and I was just looking for
you,
myself.
yeah.
And then it was just like, okay, well, I'm going to end up either way out in BFE far, far away because of cost, or I'm going to have to make some changes financially or like moving things in the budget, figuring out different work. So we ended up, it was kind of just monetary was one piece of it to get our place together, because I was just like dead set on this timeline of like not moving in together until 2 years. But that's my own, like, because of previous situations.
Yeah, how'd that work out for you?
Yeah, it's going great. It's going super great. No, so it was about a year, and we found a place, and it just made more sense. It was, yeah. And
things change when we meet the right person.
Truth.
It was hard to like come up with an excuse or a reason not to.
Yep. This is very
When we meet the right person, the world will move. Like it's gravitational.
Yeah, like
because
we
don't.
in a space
Go ahead.
of like wanting to take it very slow and be very cautious because of our previous, relationships, and we have fought that every hour of like not rushing into it, and like,
yeah, how'd that work out for you?
Good job. We did good.
Well, and then it's like we've even talked about, so we've recently got engaged, and
Right.
It was just like oh my gosh, it's 2 years too soon to be getting engaged. We shouldn't be rushing into but it was.
I waited.
Don't overthink it.
Day of the second year.
Don't overthink it. If it feels right, don't overthink it. And that's coming from me and what I do, even professionally.
Mm-hmm.
But don't let others chime in on that.
Mm.
Are you too happy?
So happy.
Absolutely. So absolutely nothing else matters. And as long as you keep working at it and talking, especially, and I'm going to get, this is where I'm going to do some psychology stuff on you. We're going to get a little therapy on this. Mm-hmm. But as long as you two are talking and communicating how you feel and the stuff that you're facing, it doesn't really matter about anybody else, because you're not living your lives for anybody else but you two.
Oh yeah, like I believe in the closed circle like approach, where like her stuff and my stuff are in a very small space for only us to deal with.
Right.
Yep.
How often, like if stuff is, so one thing and I just kind of mentioned to you before, I talked about there are things, at least for me, that I look at supersede dynamics, right? And yes, I am saying that because it is true, because this whole notion that it's so fantastical that, yes, master, and then that's it. It's the modern world. That just doesn't work that way. But health and work and family and education, all these things come first. When you're having bad days, how do you communicate that to each other?
I love that. So one thing that we do like every day, every morning, that's kind of one of our rituals, if you will, is we do a love list. And we both send them, because that's something we can do if we're both home, waking up, right, doing our morning together, or if I'm already gone at work, you're at work, we're wherever we are. And it's one thing I love about my submission, one thing I love about his dominance, one thing I love about our DS. Mm-hmm. And then he does the same. But it's just one of those little pieces where it kind of sets the tone, because I always find that, like, when I'm down on myself, or I'm down, I'm like, I always come up with something, and it's something more of like, I love how caring you are, or like how you take care of me. Mm-hmm. When there's always like these little nuggets, but it almost sets the tone. But
it does.
We are very much so. I guess that ties into like the blackboard too.
Oh yeah. Well,
all right. Yeah. So what's the blackboard?
Finish first.
Okay, you said what's the blackboard? So the blackboard is something we have in our bathroom, and we found that when we moved in together, it was almost more difficult to keep our like daily rituals that we used to have, because they were so concrete and they just didn't transfer over. Sure. To when we were living together. So we made this blackboard, and it's just an IKEA blackboard, and the subject headings have changed, but for the most part, what does it say right now? We have like daily tasks, daddy's desires, baby girl's desires, punishments, and like things we're looking forward to.
Punishments. Jupit and I, we got to talk. I got questions.
Well, and then it kind of changed to just like ideas, because I'm not bad.
She's not. I don't get to do punishments barely ever.
So the concept for me of punishments is odd, because, and I've spoken about this over the years, in 26 years, and I've only actually, those who have I've honestly ever collared, is that number is, I can count that number on three or four fingers, because relationships are quite serious when we're at that level. Mm-hmm. I've never punished once in my life, and people are blown away by that as for long, because I don't actually believe in it. And my reason is, how can I punish somebody for getting something wrong that I'm dictating to them? If I, in my mind, have an idea of what I want and they can't deliver because they don't know how to do it, are they wrong or am I?
So punishments have only happened very, very rarely. And the times that they have is because a red has been crossed, like a predetermined boundary.
Sure.
Outside of that, though, I mean, I will write stuff on the blackboard.
They're more punishments than anything.
They are more punishments than anything.
Or it's like a spot where he wants to put his little sadistic little ideas, so that I have to then look at them and be like, well, what did he mean by, like, there's
like setting your ass on fire, or like, chaining your feet till they bleed, stuff like that? Or
yeah, I mean, maybe not 100% to that, but yes,
right,
in that vague, like, narrative, in that genre, if you will. But it's a spot where
Sean, you don't understand. I'm giving him subtle. These are very well overt ideas.
I know, and I'm just brushing them off to the side, hoping he doesn't write anything down.
Sadists will talk. Like you subs talk, we talk. We have our own network of ideas.
I do. I have about 4 who I speak with quite regularly.
Yeah. You and your little boyfriend.
That's right.
But anyways, the thing is like, we both have a spot where we can put like our desires on there.
Sure. I like that.
It's mine also. And sometimes I write on there that like, I need to, I'm just like, what the hell do I want on there?
Well, it wouldn't even matter. It could be something as simplistic, like I need a rose petal bath. I imagine I'd love, But it's a nice way to transition that self from dynamic to reality, and it's a nice crossover.
Yeah, and because we also do have like that DDLG side, like sometimes me accepting like being cared for is very difficult. And one, because just being who I am as a person, how can I do for you? What can I do for you? I like to serve and help people.
And wildly independent.
So allowing someone to like care for me or do things for me has been a very big like challenge for me to overcome. But as him being a daddy dom, like that's something that like, not always, but he also does want to give and like enjoys that piece of it. But then he also gets to write on there that like, I'm going to use you in this way. I mean, you're going to be my cock slave tonight as I put staple your pussy shut. Like, you decide.
Yes, there will be an explicit warning on this podcast episode. That's okay. We're adults. This is the things we talk about. So, and it's part of it. Yeah. Here's a bigger one, because we are human beings and you're still outside of the dynamic. When stuff doesn't go to plan, you hit a rough spot. I've had a bad day. You've left your 9th coffee cup on the counter, right? How do you two work through that, and then sometimes learn how you navigate between stepping out of your roles and then keeping it intact?
Space, I think, is the biggest one first. And like, if specifically with me, I get very angry and I keep to myself until I am not. But like having that space, or if she's overstimulated, letting her have that space. So then when we do address things, like I'd wear a 3 instead of an 8 or a higher, because I don't see anything healthy happening at that stage. Space is the big one for me.
But we also, if we have a disagreement or an argument or something that whatever it looks like and we're not on the same page, we now communicate as partners.
Yes, 100%.
That is not a place where our dynamic travels into, because at that point, as long as it's not a DS problem, if it's a real world problem, life, we're just human beings, we're communicating as people, partners, two equals in this, because at the end of the day, our dynamic is not what's ruling that the rest of our things. Like, kind of like you said, where, you know, you put your health first, your home, your family, like these all need to be taken care of.
Sure.
Where we are going to figure out the bills or the issue or the disagreement we're having as two individuals and not as a dom and a sub, because we both have equal voices.
I think there's a lot of people that forget that it's not. I think the concept for me, you know, I get a question a lot as, you know, is 24/7 easy? For my simplistic answer is no, but the long answer is it's extremely complicated. It's a very complicated question. And I break it down. I try to do numbers, and I'll say, let's just say in this world, there's 20 million kinky people. There's probably more than that, but 20 million is a nice rough number across the globe. And I say, if you take that, you probably cut that number by 50%. Now we're down to the active people who are doing stuff at least once a month, if not at least every couple of months. If we take that number again and go down by a further 75%, so now we're down to about 2.5 million people who are actively somewhere participating in the lifestyle. That's probably a great comfortability range. I know I probably live in there. You guys. I said, but then you're going to take that of that 2.5 million people, and you're going to take that number and you're going to take 10% of that. You're going to get down to about 250,000 across the globe. And it sounds like a really big number, but the reality of those living 24/7, that's all they live, do, and breathe. It's really small, because that micro level of micromanagement, I think it was cool when I started, when I was like 25 and 26 and 27. I'm like, yes, I want to pick your fingernail polish and tell you the underwear. Yeah. Like by day 5, it's annoying. Like, I don't want to do it.
It's a lot of things to pick and choose.
A lot. You women have accessorized so much.
Damn,
and that's fine. Like, I'm not dogging on that, but if I've got to wear a suit, it's just a suit. I pick a color and I pick a shirt and I pick a tie and I'm out the door. I got to do, you know, belts and purses and lipstick, and no, I don't want to do that. So you start giving up the autonomous control, because the reality of that, it's a lot of effort, and I don't think people understand. Do you all micromanage to that level, or is it more macro management?
I would say macro management. We have a few things where,
like your underwear, for instance, I pick out every day. But
yeah, he picks out my bra and panties every day. But the thing is that I usually only wear them if I'm going to work.
Yes.
Where if I'm at home or something, I'm like, I don't need to wear these. That's just my personal thing. But yeah, so like he picks those out for me, like when I go to work. I work 3 or 4 days a week. And that's just been one of the things, but it's that. And then he picks out my plug that I'm going to wear that day. So it's like, those are the things that he picks, but he knows exactly where they're at. He now knows.
We're going to talk in 5 years and see if that's still the thing. Because
it will be. I promise you that much.
We'll talk in 5 years. We'll see how that goes.
I love that.
It's fine, because I mean, to me, that's not too bad. It's not too much of a micro thing.
Yeah.
But I think that's why, like, I strayed from like the fingernail and the, what was the other, toenail polish and like eyeshadow, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
I don't even think about that. That's when you look at, like, I don't know. I'm gonna say just me. I don't wear fingernail, like, barely ever. This is the first time in years. I don't really wear makeup. I don't do, like, I'm, I guess, more minimal, and that's fine. But it makes it easy for him. He know, like, and he also now knows all of my underwear and all my things. So it's easy for him to like pick through, because like he knows like what sometimes it's like I can tell he's picking. He's like, oh, he knows that I like this one or that I prefer this style or whatever. Some days I'm like, he fucking hates me. He wants me to wear the underwear that I hate wearing to work.
Sure.
And that's
or more so like in reverse, so it's even itchier and invasive.
Yeah, like shit like that, where
Ideas.
I'm like, I know he does this shit intentionally, and now I have
Of
to
course, because
think
we're
about it all
sadists.
day.
It's like you don't know what a sadist does.
Ugh.
It's not about your comfort, it's about our enjoyment and being torturous, like
Yeah.
on multiple levels.
Mm-hmm.
Or make you wear it inside out and the wrong way.
Ugh.
That's even yeah. How did you know? You didn't get that one. There you go. There's a free one.
Yeah. But otherwise, there's not a lot of. I feel like I've found my happy like place in satisfying like my style and things that I like to have in my wardrobe, and then also things that he likes. So it's I don't.
It's a balance.
Yeah,
It's
but and
it's
so
a
like
balance
no matter what
without
I
the encumbrance of strict control.
yeah, and it's like there's already so many things that I know he enjoys and likes that he's not going to be upset with anything that if I decide to put something spicy on or whatever, like I know he's going to like it and he's going to be happy.
Sure, sure. Wait till you get a little older. I'll give you all another 5 years. That'll change again.
And
And
then I
we
will
then
just
we
like,
move out of style and we move all into comfort. And then you get my
oh,
age. It's just complete comfort,
I
right?
love it. There's a lot of complete comfort around here.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's needed too because I can't. You can't be on all the time. Like I'm busy. I can't.
It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's you can't always just be on because there has to everything we do in life is balanced. Especially if you two are working, if you're in school, you got a little one, you've got fur babies. That's a lot already to manage. Then you've got family, then you've got friends, and we haven't even gotten to the community yet. How do you balance? Does family know or close friends know you two are lifestyle or no? Is that
My
still a
friends do
secret?
for sure.
Yeah. Friends do
Family
Are the
not
friends vanilla or are the friends BDSM?
both.
both.
Okay. Well, the
Both.
BDSM ones don't care because then they're
That's
just
where
more
we met
like,
them. Yeah.
yeah,
But we also do so when I moved up to Minneapolis, like we were I don't want to say very intentional, but we were in the community so much. So when we were making connections with people and just friendships, it kind of was intentional where we chose to like connect with people that we vibed with as like human beings and not just oh you're a sadist we're friends now, oh you're a masochist we're friends. It was who do we like as people, because now those
sure,
people our like they're our people now.
Yeah.
That's our
yeah,
tribe. Like we do vanilla things with our friends that we met through kink and through the
sure,
lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
sure,
But I've told some of my family members, not my parents, not up to that level, but people that are more like cousin, my sister.
sure.
But I've also
Yeah,
mentioned
I don't
them,
see you except every couple of years, so you're good.
well, more than that. Like my closest cousin, we were talking when him and I first met, she was like my confidant. And I'm like, look at these bruises, look at this party. Like, you need
Let me
to
call
come
the
to this.
police real quick. Yeah,
Oh, she's like, yes, do your thing. Like, it was like, she's like, I'm living vicariously through you.
yeah.
But
It's hard to broach that subject, and it's not easy. Before, so whenever I record a show, we always have I talk to everybody a little bit before, and I was telling you that I have colleagues that are, I mean, they're exceptionally brilliant people, especially in their fields, given what they do. But when I talk to them about this, because they're genuinely curious, sometimes I think they lean in a little bit more because there's a draw. I don't broach it. I respect their privacy, but I'll tell them about things I've done, and they're like, "How could you do that?" And I'm like, "Because I enjoy it. I want to watch somebody get buried alive in a
mm,
coffin, 6 feet underground for 20 minutes."
I would
And
do.
they're like, "You're going to kill them." I'm like, "No, there's protocols, and they can breathe, but they're in a vacuum seal bag and stuff." And they're looking at me like, "We
Is it?
should commit you, but I want to know more."
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong. We're just thinking of all these things to do and to be devious on, or you know, it's hard because it is a part of my life. My
Mm,
job isn't my identity. Being a sadist isn't my identity. It's just a wonderful part of who I am. And like I told you, I've met people from all over the globe, and it becomes a home. We can just talk about all these different things. Here come the rope people. None of us like you that are sadists, but that's okay. I'm just kidding. Rope people, chill out. I know you're gonna get pissed. But the rope people and the needle people and the DDLG community and everybody else, we can come together, and we come together for that common bond of we just like doing really terrible stuff and we enjoy it. And there's not a reason more beyond that. I don't like where some of the evolution of BDSM or some of the communities are going to, but that's a different topic for a different day. But that does lead me to, how do you two deal with stuff like if somebody has a misconception of what you do, or a myth of understanding of who you are? How do you guys handle it?
Are we speaking about specifically like in the community?
Exterior first, because I think the communities go. I don't know. Are you facing that type of?
No. So
I wouldn't. Yeah, I kind of wouldn't think so, but
I have carefully crafted my life where people just know who I am and that I am a part of stuff like this without revealing specifics, and those individuals respect me. So I don't have a lot of that stuff happening in my life, but that comes from also years and years and years of carefully letting in the people who I do and shutting out everybody else.
I like that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's our personal autonomy. You can be a part of our world or not, and we also don't owe that to anybody.
Exactly. And that took me a long time to learn as well. But at least for myself, I'm in a really good place with that. Plus, as well, I mean, like, I write lots of self-help articles and articles about healing and stuff like that too. So, like, I already operate in kind of the alternative space as it is.
We'll have to collaborate on something. I would collaborate and do something big on between the Reiki healing and psychology. I know there's stuff out there. I've never dove into it, but that doesn't mean I'm opposed to it, because I don't know every subject outside of trauma. I don't know the other stuff. I enjoy researching and looking into and throwing stuff together. So yeah, I'm always down to write something. So future writing coming from Jupiter and Enhanced, talking about healing and your mental health, that's on the horizon. That'll be fun.
I'm trying to think. So I work in the medical field. I actually work in an emergency room. And you said that, and one thing came up to my mind: the amount of times we find things in people's butts. And
I just read an article about that recently.
Was it
about,
the MRI
again,
one?
It could have been. I think so. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. So I read that one, but it was another one about somebody went in and it was a guy. Was that a guy who had something?
Yeah.
Okay.
The amount of things that get stuck or get lost, or I don't know, accidentally, a Pam can, I fell on it, whatever. But I'm going to tell you, if you go into the emergency room, like, the staff will talk about you behind the closed doors.
Of course, we all do. I worked in law enforcement. We all do. Like, if I've gone somewhere and it's like, oh, I slipped and I fell on the shampoo bottle. No.
You're like, okay.
No. I'm not judging why you shoved it up your ass, but we know you're lying. Yeah. Exactly. The firemen are about to find out you're lying. The ambulance drivers are going to find out. And then the doctors and nurses. So you've just involved 4 different first responders. Congratulations. We all know you do kinky things. And that's okay.
But the thing is, so I'm sitting here about someone who does put stuff in my butt, and I'm like, I know why they're doing it. Like, I get it, but everybody's like, yeah, it's disgusting, or I saw this or did that, and I'm like, then I sit here and I'm kind of like, oh my God, you're like smashing on me. You're talking bad about me, but I'm not going to expose, like, I'm not a person that I'm going to be like, well, I do this and I do this and that, because one, they probably don't want to know it's that. But so I sit here and sometimes I'll strategically, you think about things and you're like, well, maybe it happened like this, or maybe, sure, they weren't using the right object. Clearly there's things that you can use for this that are meant for that it's not your shampoo.
We just try new things because it's fun. I mean, remote controls. If I can make it fit, lighters, squirt bottles.
Yes.
Pot handles.
But
doesn't matter.
So I'm sitting here going, I'm like, stop knocking so hard on these people. Like, there's nothing fucking wrong with putting something in your butt. Lay off their case. And I guarantee, like, that's the point. So, like, that's where this was going, but
sure. Well, it's always about human. We're stripping this down to is human curiosity. Does it feel good, and what's going to happen when I do it?
You can tell that when people are like saying stuff about it, the people that aren't just bashing on it because they've never done it, and the people that know what's going on, and it's like, I see you over there. I see you. We're on the same wavelength. I did have an interaction though with my aunt. We're gonna go back to the how do you deal with people when they have a dog out there. But
fur baby wants attention.
He does.
We all know. That's all right. Give them love. That's
exactly
why they're there.
Daddy's on it. But we were at a bonfire and we were talking to my aunt, and I kind of like mentioned I was wearing my collar, and she's like, "Oh, you do this master slave thing or this, that, and the other." And I'm like, "It's not what you think it is. I'm not chained in the base, like in the cellar where, I'm only let out when you need something from me or to service you or to do this." Like,
that would be pretty hot.
Well,
and there's nothing wrong with those people because there's people going to be saying, you want to be free, you do it. I know. I'm adding in the clarification because, pitchforks and not a problem. Not like I care, but I because I'm smart enough to know where you're at. But go ahead.
And I just kind of listed a couple things, and I'm like, where I knew things that my aunt did, and I was like, it's like you're fixing his drink for him. He doesn't make his drinks at the house. You're the one that was doing his laundry. And I go, sometimes it's as little as those things. And
do you do elements of 1950?
I hate it. But
you thought you had an opinion.
But so this is funny because I don't like it when I feel like the errand boy. I need connection.
Sure.
Mental connection. Like I need to feel close and loved by you in order to feel not just like the errand boy where it's like, here's your grocery list, goodbye. And that's okay if that's what it is. But for me, it's like I feel better serving, if you will, when I have that connection and I feel loved in like that way. And then I want to serve, and then I want to do things for you, and then I want to go out of my way. And I just need the mental stimulation, and I need that. That's like a big part for me. Like I've learned that I'm very demisexual, and I need to know, like, it's so much more than a physical thing for me.
Sure.
And just the acts and going through motions, like I want to be I want to be brain to brain with you.
But, well, of course, I think there are a lot of people that are in this surface level. Let me do my play. There's nothing wrong with tops and bottoms. I think there are those that are in it for themselves. They miss out. I'm going to conserve this. When you're only here for yourself, you miss out on 90% of this lifestyle. Because you're selfish and you want nothing more. You're never gonna find what it's like to have that partner like where you two are at. That holy God, we're going to the next level. I'm gonna shove a pot in your ass, fill it with water, put a tea kettle in the middle or a tea light in the middle, and you were gonna crawl across the floor so that tea light doesn't touch the side, or I will beat you into oblivion. And then you're like, oh my God, yes, I'm down for this, right? By the way, I just came up with that one in my mind. Jupiter, please. Experimental time. All right. So I like psychology. It's all experimental. But sadism, it's always about new things. So there you go. That's a free one. But put that on the dream board. Yep. But there is that. I totally get what you're saying there. And we need that connection. It really does. Like I mentioned to you before, it becomes gravitational. And we're pushing and pulling because it makes us better. And then we realize when the push or the pull is too much, and then we recenter ourselves and then we start again and we keep building, which then makes me want to ask you both, what about this has helped you grow from who you were to what you both are now?
Oh man. Confidence for sure. I am somebody that was raised by 3 women. I have always been a caretaker to almost every extent of my life. Speaking up for myself and my needs has always been hard, or to put myself first. this has really forced me to find myself, and especially with now leading not only my household, but her as well. I have had to really just come in to my own healthy masculinity and not be afraid of it anymore. And it has been wildly changing,
Mm-hmm.
in like the best ways. Like, I'm like, when I have my own businesses, and then now I'm in school again, and all of these things stem from my DS.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of growth,
It's
especially given the short amount of time.
Yeah. I mean, well, I love the hard work. That's where I thrive. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not just. I mean, that's just not physical growth, but mental and
oh yeah, for
emotional
sure,
and being in
absolutely.
touch. You're really getting down, and that's when we talk about partnerships and dynamics. About being with someone makes me a better person.
Oh, 100%.
Mm.
You're both going that you're making me better, and then
Mm-hmm.
again, then we're emphasizing that around each other. Was I'm assuming you both decided in recently, like in the last year, to go back to school? Was that both of you?
Mine's been kind of a long, drawn out process. I was in a program and life happened, things happened, turned the wheel a little bit, and now re going back at it. But he's been a huge motivator, supporter. Like, I lost my dad 2 years ago.
Mm.
And I had known him for 4 months at that time. And I was in the middle of nursing school, and it was like it was dark. It was really
Mm-hmm.
bad. And
Grief is a difficult process.
yes. And our relationship was so new, and like having the piece of like the dynamic there also on top of just relationship in general, vanilla wise. He guided me and was by my side every single step of the way. And he has shown me like how to have a voice and how to say no and to stand up for myself. And it's so weird that these are the things that I've learned about myself as like through my submission,
Sure.
where I guess like in my brain you're like, oh, submissive, it's quiet and you take direction and you listen and you don't talk back and you don't do things. And the biggest thing that I've learned like through our dynamic is it is not a one-way street.
Oh no,
I also
no.
have needs or desires or no's or hard limits, and it is okay to have every single one of those. And the only way that we know those things is if I express them, and we have to talk about them, and we have to have hard conversations. And
Sure.
I
I've
have
talked about with people about the rigidity before, thinking that, and I had that mindset when I was young, that
yeah,
for TPE to exist, once a slave or even a sub enters TPE, their voice is gone. No, absolutely not, because without their feedback, I as a dominant don't grow. If they're
yeah,
just a mute and they're my punching bag, well, I'm going to get bored very quickly because I have no idea if they like it or not, and it's just going to become repetitive, and then it's over.
mm-hmm.
So it's through all of that communication, and it's through all of that talking and people. That's a lot of effort. It's the key
Oh.
word here.
Yeah.
That's how the dynamics grow.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
And
times where it's exhausting, and there's times where it's absolutely liberating, and the joy and the endorphins and everything is the dopamine is just pouring out of us. And you get to have those huge things and all these really great feel goods because sometimes it frickin' sucks.
yeah,
And sometimes it's really hard. And sometimes you have to have conversations that make you uncomfortable. Or me saying,
like getting a pot shoved over your butt with like boiling
yeah.
water. Yeah, that's
Wait,
coming,
wait,
by the
did you
way.
say
That's a
boiling water?
huge. Oh, you wanted to add a
Boiling.
level.
No,
Dude, level accepted. No, no, no.
we can do ice water.
No, 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 no. Level accepted. You've raised the stakes. Not a problem. I'm sure Jupiter's going to write that down. So pot of boiling water, tea light that, by the way, cannot splash out, go out, or touch the sides. You got to crawl. I would say, so he's 6'2". That means you got to crawl 12 feet without spilling a drop or letting the light go out or touch the side. And you get a time limit of how fast to do that. Wow.
Oh, this sounds like, you put a time limit on it? Now this is.
Oh, God, yeah. That's like, what do you mean? I'm a sadist. We automatically, like, it's next level. You don't just get like 6 hours to crawl.
Well,
no.
I
You get
just
like 30 seconds.
You triggered my ADHD. Now it's a game.
Now it is a game.
Now I'm in.
What do you think sadism and masochism is? It's a game. How much can you take and what can I deliver? Who wins? Who wins?
Really win.
Well, of course we do. Of course. That's why we as sadists got to really think of terrible, terrible things to do. Like just terribly fun stuff. Yeah. But it's all in jest, everybody, and understand that, there's a lot of discussions and there's safety protocols that got to go with that, and how do we handle burns and, and all of those fun things, which then I want to ask you, this is going to be a big combination question as we kind of come towards the end here, because there's going to be a lot of new people again. There is people who enter this lifestyle have been here for a while that I still think that are caught in a very fantastical belief of how this all works. So how do you tell them, hey, enjoy the community, try to avoid drama the best you have, and what advice do you give them for moving into something like this over time?
We kind of talked about this, but I think that it's so important. I have learned so much about myself, and like I've been on a very much so a self journey for like the last solid year, and with your help and kind of guiding me down the right direction, the how-tos and how do you actually do it. But if you got to have some semblance of yourself, like you've got to be, it is beneficial, it is helpful to know yourself in order to know the things that you want, or you might want if you haven't tried. But knowing yourself and knowing especially like that you're going to be able to call red or whatever that flavor looks like to you if you're using a stoplight system when things are going not well. Especially like we all want to think that everything's great and peachy and scenes are going to go perfectly every time, but you got to know when to like trust yourself and be able to advocate for yourself. Just because you have a top or a dominant doesn't mean that they're all knowing and they can't read your mind and they can't, it's impossible. So
absolutely. I don't think either side's infallible. We're not.
Yeah. So
everybody makes mistakes. Subs are not innocent does that are in the forest and they just don't know anything. And my biggest problem with submissives is baby bird syndrome, regurgitate and feed everything to me. I don't do that. And then with doms who think that they don't need to learn. Those are the easiest ways, the most blanket statements I can make that seem to make it easy. Learn, train, go to events, talk to people, ask questions. Even if somebody doesn't get back to you, just, hey, if you got some time, I saw you staple cheetah shut. How did you get there? You maybe not have the time to answer fully, but at least somebody's curious and you get to share that knowledge with them. But what about you, Jupiter? How do you deal with the newcomers coming? Because you two are on the cusp of TNG. And there's going to be people always coming behind us. For you, what do you tell them to prepare for or consider before they jump in?
I think it depends. For bottoms, I say find your boundaries and become very strong within yourself before you start expanding. Because if you don't know how to say no, you will get hurt. And then you will probably leave. And that happens to lots of individuals.
Sure.
For tops, you need to learn and you need to be connected with other healthy tops, and you need to stay connected with them so you don't, for one, burn yourself out or just like lose your passion for it as well. I think that is certainly a thing that has happened with myself over the years, and I need to keep on coming back here and speaking with people and finding my interests and then learning about those safely.
I think that's a really good point about burnout. I've talked about it, I think, once before about community and burnout and being overly invested. And I want to go to every event and do everything, but we don't realize how quickly we burn that candle to the bottom of the wick, like overnight. Because our events are expensive and doing all this stuff is fun, but it is a gigantic commitment.
It is.
And nothing like, I'm not like dogging subs or anybody on the other side of the slash, but for DOMs, we do a lot of work. Like, let's be realistic for a minute. We are creating the scene and the toys and how we're going to do it. And then that discussion before pre-scene and capacity checks. You all just, nothing against your role or anything, but you all are just kind of sitting there. It's not a dig. It's really not a dig. And I promise I'm not digging, but which will lead me is how much do you design your scenes together? Or is it all left to you, Jupiter?
I think it ebbs and flows. If I'm healthy and my cup is full, I mean, I'm all over the place with it and I love it. If I am on the opposite spectrum, I will speak up and say, hey, like, I need you to like initiate some things. I need you to put some stuff on the blackboard. And the thing about us that makes us so great is that she hears me and then she follows through. So I am in no way like standing here by myself.
There's been things that I've totally planned.
Oh yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Like usually the more fucked up shit actually is for her. If I'm going to be honest with you.
No, our best are when they're combined. Yes. Like the best ones is when we both have input because...
Like Staples, that was great.
Well, there's some parts where it's like, all right, from the sadist point of view, you got all these things happening or this is your main idea. And I'm like, but what if we just add a little sprinkle of this on there? Or what about if we put this here? And it's like... Fuck yeah. Like,
yes.
So that's going to lead me to, and I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to answer, but we don't do consent in the moment. Do we revisit after a scene and going, oh, cool, I want to elevate it next time? Or have you done consent in the moment? Ah.
Can you rephrase that?
No.
More.
Yeah, no, for real. If you're going
to so consent in the moment. So obviously the following, you're doing your scene and you're doing a heavy impact scene, maybe with some electrode nipple torture and choking, right? Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden Cheetah's like, God, Staples would be awesome. Do you do consent in the moment and add Staples in, even though you haven't discussed it?
Oh,
or do you say?
I would say we do. We kind of play pretty loose and fast a lot of the times. And because, I mean, but also we have talked so much about so many things that those things for us are fine.
I don't know if we've ever added anything that was like a totally uncharted territory.
So it's already been pre-discussed. It's just when it's going to get injected is different. So that's not consent in the moment. Then that's more of, yeah. So I'm more like saying, hey, cool. You're in the middle of hitting her with the baseball bat. And then you're like, cool, let me fist your ass now. And you're like, what? And you're like, yeah, consent in the moment. Right.
Right. Yeah. No, if it's not been something that we've already like discussed, or it's been something that we've maybe not in like great detail, but I mean, you would know that I wouldn't be okay with that, but
fair.
But something, if you were like, yeah, here's this, what are you, a bear catcher?
Oh yeah, bear trap.
Bear trap. Like that just came to my mind now that we've
you're in trouble now.
See, but it's like you wouldn't just come up to me and like slap a bear trap on, or like be like, hey, we're gonna do this.
I'd see in the coming weeks.
Yes, now it's been discussed, and now we're gonna have like about this big conversation.
You know what's far better though are mouse traps because they're stronger as far as the compression ratio on the spring.
Recently, actually.
Yeah. We don't have any here, fortunately.
I need to write them down.
I'll put it on the shopping list. The problem is he'll be like, yeah, get some mouse traps. And I'm like, hey, I found this slamming deal on Amazon. I bought 50.
Good, because we're going to need 50 for what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. Give a submissive a wax with a sticky mouse trap.
A
wax. Like if you do get waxed, instead of going off and paying a lot of money, spend $5 for the little waxy mouse trap that's inhumane and they die on it because of dehydration, and then you use that to
Yeah.
wax somebody. Yeah.
I used to wax myself. I'm like
Oh well.
I'm a little sadomasochist also. Like, so I'm like, oh yeah. Okay.
Fun game.
Yes, tensions and springs, and it's all the. See, that's the problem when you stick a couple sadists in the room. It's not people are going to say two sadists and a masochist walk into a bar. No, all that's going to end up happening is some really terrible ideas, and the masochist having fun later on, right? And it's going to
Exactly.
be That's really all this is. Um, but and I know I talked to you about this prior, and I don't want to go into specifics. I just want a more of a, I guess, a community wide sense. You know, Minneapolis, LA, the UK, Seoul, none of these places are ever immune from localized drama. Do you guys ever, do people ask you to get involved, or do you just kind of
Oh
keep
yeah.
your own?
I mean, well, they ask us to. We don't though. I mean, it's like high school.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great
You
way
have
to
your
phrase it.
cliques and you have individuals that just want to start shit, and you have some groups that are awesome and others that are not, and picking and choosing very wisely on
Yeah.
that. And two, I mean, I don't have the fucking energy.
My
No, and I don't understand because, again, we come back to this whole we're here for the love of we're here for the love of the lifestyle, regardless of where you lie, from the leather to the rope to the needles to everything and in between. Why I'm here for my escapism. Period. I'm not looking for that. My job is a little bit makes it a little bit more difficult, but I try even then when I'm private time, I'm like the furthest removed. Like I don't want to know. Don't bring me in. I don't want to hear your version because all I'm going to get is a version anyway, and I don't want to sort through it. That's not my place. Just here, I want to have fun and enjoyment and life. Life is too short, and I don't want to spend all my time doing that. And I'm not talking about those in the bigger levels of stuff, but
yeah.
generally. Um, what about traveling for you two? Do you guys go outside of your area and go into other communities, or do you stay pretty regionalized up into that?
We've been pretty regionalized, and I think that we also have kind of some things that we like. We have obviously outside life, but we have some things that are, I would say, take up equal amounts of like time and funds as like kink does.
Mm-hmm.
So think like, oh, we're gonna go to a weekend thing. Like we went to Kinky Friday or Kinky College in Chicago last year. You went. That was a weird situation, but I would love to get out to bigger things like that. But we also have
Right.
like other things like big week long things that we go to for other parts of our life where it's kind of like you only have this many weekends, you only have this much money, you only have this many things. And when you just kind of have to like pick and choose, it's
Yeah.
we're picking and choosing right now. And I would love to get out more. I mean, who wouldn't? But it's then we go back down to this
As you get
weird
older, it's just going
thing.
to change.
Yeah.
I think last year was really bad. Well, it wasn't bad. I don't want to say it like that, but life changed dramatically for me last year. So
Yeah.
events that were, every 3, 4 weeks went to every couple of months, then it went down to the half year, and now we have to step away for there's reasons, and I don't share too much of my private life because I need the separation.
Yeah.
But I mean that's part of everything, and just you get older, and all of a sudden life changes, and hey, man, my knee's hurting, or I got to go to a doctor's appointment and I got some bad news, and
It's
you got to deal with all these
realistic.
things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So life has a strange way of changing. I still love this lifestyle. 26 years. It's scary to think that much time, but I'm very fortunate to where I've been, and then I get to meet people all over the planet that are fascinating and do really devious stuff, and we do it all for the same reason because we are just there's nothing wrong with us at all. We're just devious and it's delightful, and we want to destroy we just want to destroy somebody in the most consensual way. And
Absolutely.
Yep.
um,
Absolutely.
I think if you guys have any parting words for anybody new or older.
I think the biggest thing is kind of like what you're saying is like we're here for the love of the community and for the lifestyle. And at the end of the day, it's about finding the pieces of it that fit for you and that you love and that you want to explore, and get into it and find the stuff that brings you the joy and stay away from the stuff that doesn't. And if you find things you don't like, awesome, better for you. Now you know. But find the parts that you really do enjoy and freaking love the shit out of them. And
Yeah.
soak up all that good stuff, because that's what this is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be this a headache and cause you more stress and more drama. Find the good and take the good and leave the rest for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And what about you, Jupiter?
I would
For the
say,
for the DOMs that are coming into their own, that might be, hey, look, they're struggling with something personal. They confidence, some
oh,
of the things that you've mentioned, some of the things that you've mentioned that now that through this with your partner that you found that has helped you grow is the word I'm really searching for.
if you're struggling in that space, you need to reach out to people. There are individuals who have been where you are, and anybody who is of any semblance of sound mind or cares about BDSM will help you. I mean, you can reach out to me. I will help you. I love it. Like, I thrive in that space. But reach out, find people. You are not alone. However much you may think you are, I guarantee you're fucking not.
No, I agree. I get those emails on occasion.
Mm.
I can only answer to a limited capacity. I don't do advice, but I'm always, hey, here's some things, and
Resources.
Yep.
Yeah.
resources is really a key thing. And find your community, or
Mm.
um, start looking. Use FetLife for what it is, as a platform to connect to people and
Right.
find that community and start going. But don't live your life in there and then expect everybody to know you. You got to start meeting them in real time. Go to dungeons.
Truth.
Be humble.
Yes.
Humility. You're going to
Know
make
you a
mistakes,
long
and that's
fucking way.
okay. Yes, but ask questions. Ask why. What at that point in your dynamic made you. Don't be rude, but why did you do staples then? What was the pull? Ask about the mindset, so you can understand and you can find that joy inside of it. You
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, I look forward to the progress made on the hot boiling water pot handle with the tea light thing, because I am going to hold you to that. I'm going to give you 6 months.
Ooh.
Who,
Okay.
me?
Yeah. If you do it sooner, that's awesome. Photo or any visual aids is optional, but
My paper.
your length is 6'2", so that is a distance of 12 feet. We're gonna just call it 12 feet 5 to cover everything. So
Okay.
it's crawling 12 feet 5 inches without spilling hot boiling water, or the tea light going out, or it touching the side of the pot and crawling that distance in, I don't know, 30 seconds, maybe less.
I mean, I got this other one here that I'm really excited about.
How am I going to get a teapot in my butt?
Well, that's not your design. That's all. He's got to worry about that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
just lube.
That's why we got 6 months.
Pot,
Oh, my other little.
have you seen a pot handle? They're not that long. They're only about 8 inches, maybe 10.
Oh, you're talking about. Oh my God, I'm
A
thinking like
pot.
a tea kettle. I'm like,
No,
I don't
no,
know
no. A
which
pot,
direction.
like a pot,
Yeah. Okay.
a
Oh
pot
yeah.
inserted,
I got this.
right? So then it's up to the buttocks, and then that's really hot water. So you're going to take the heat and the sting, and then you got a tea light that's kind of floating in there, right? And then that can't go out, it can't spill, and it can't touch the sides. We have to be creative because it's like a game.
Yeah, I love it. Yes. Oh,
That's
one last nugget where you're saying advice wise or things.
yes.
Therapy. I do therapy myself. He does, and we go together.
Oh, I love
That
that.
has been something that has, and we have, I mean, we found kink friendly, all of our little categories.
Right.
We're able to talk freely and openly with.
Yes,
And
non-judgmental.
yes. And that has been so amazing for learning how to create spaces to have those tough conversations.
I like that a lot because we'll do stuff for our medical health. We take care of our cars and our homes, but a lot of people leave mental health until something goes
Berserk.
nuclear. And then it's like, okay, great. Especially like I get, not everybody, but I get a lot of people that are coming in, and it's something, it's a lot to unpack in like an hour. And I'm like, give me as much as your pre-story as I can get, so I'm ready, and then we'll get off and running.
Yeah.
But it's a lot. Take time and check in for yourselves. Balance. It's just balance.
Yep. When we started and we were searching for someone, we were like, we don't have any big issue right now. Like there is no thing. Like
Don't need an issue.
Yep. But we were like, we want this, and we want this stable, something that we've already established, so that if something like that happens, we have a tool. And now we've already been, but it is something that I will put.
That's really, really awesome that you guys do that. That's so next level that I really love that. Because I think very few will kind of think of that component, but there's nothing wrong, because it eliminates the whole stigma. You're only seeing a therapist because it's wrong, or there's something wrong, and you're not. There's a lot of people that just do it. It's a check-in. It's like anything else, or we're unloading from our stress. Therapists see therapists. It's part of. I think I go probably twice a year, and I've got to go and do it once a check-in, and the other one it's great for me to just kind of, hey, how's it all going? Because I listen to military people, and then I listen to everybody else who's got trauma. It's a lot to onboard.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, it's all about the check-ins and doing all of that stuff. Look, I know it's getting late for you too. So first, I want to say thank you for spending tonight talking about all this stuff, talking about your lives, talking about commitment and your effort and strength, all the stuff that fun, gooey center that you go through. Right? That gravitational gooey center that we just, especially when you're sadist and masochist, you're only going to know about that. You wrote people will never know about that, but that's a different story. Yes, we all make fun of you secretly because you spend 9,000 hours doing things. I love you, but you do. It takes way too long.
Beautiful.
I'm always every time I dig on them, I always get, what do you hate on the road people? I don't. It's just I don't do it, and it's not fun.
It's like picking on a younger sibling. You just do it because it's fun.
Yes. See, you masochists can do it too.
Yeah.
But I do. I thank you for you guys sitting down and talking about your lives, your dynamic, and sharing this little piece with the world. So, with that said, everybody, please keep a listen. The next couple of shows are going to be really good. I got some other things lined up for you all. If you do want to donate to what I do, there is a donation link on the bottom of my profile. But until next time, be safe and stay kinky.